bolo jednoduchšie. Keby ste niečo nerozumeli v angličtine, keby sa pýtate neskôr, všetky slajdy boli potom v angličtine. Takže, prečo sme sa rozhodli pre túto tému? Samozrejme preto, že zaoberáme sa priamo pluginami. Máme teda 13 aktívnych. Vo WordPresse je teda 36 942 pluginov. Všetky tieto sú dostupné cez WordPress a máme väčšina z nich je teda samozrejme zadarmo. Zadarmo znamená, že dostanete svoju funkcionalitu, ale niekedy by ste chceli aj niečo viac, či už ako budeme skoro správať podporu, alebo viac funkcií. Dobre, takže...
Dobre. No, nie, no mali by povedať takové ťažké pro.
Áno, takže je veľmi jednoduché podporovať alebo podporiť svoj plugin, ktorý dávate zadarmo. Vlastne ľudia vás nemôžu očakávať nič. To, čo dostanú, je, čo majú. Nemusíte sa nejak viac snažiť. Ako na to však prejdete tomu, že od zákazníkov vypýtate nejaké peniaze, už zákazníci očakávajú automaticky, že im za to niečo naviac ponúknete. To znamená, že ak niečo nefunguje, hneď sa na vás obrátia s tým, že zaplatil som peniaze, ale to nefunguje. Čo s tým? A musíte to riešiť, či je to vaša chyba, alebo nie je to vaša chyba. Čiže o tom si povieme tiež neskôr.
Ja by chcel dobaviť, že ešte máme 13 free plugins i tie 13 free plugins dajú menej support problémy ako tie jeden pro plugin. Že by vedeli rozdiel. Okay.
Dobre, takže niečo o plugine, ktorý budeme spomínať, ktorého budú všetky ukážky. Takže je to náš pro player. Máme samozrejme free verziu, free WordPress pro player a potom je naša free pro player. To je naša plugina. Takže bol to plugin špeciálne vybudovaný pre WordPress. To znamená, že funguje veľmi dobre, je plne responsívny a veľmi jednoduchý na použitie. Pridávame stále rôzne nové funkcie, ale zároveň sa snažíme čím viac to zjednodušiť. Celé užívateľské rozhranie sa snažíme, keď za každým na to pridáme niečo, zjednodušiť, že máte nastavenia, ktoré sa ukážu napríklad len, keď ich používate. Keď chcem použiť jednu funkciu, tak mám nastavenia pre funkciu. Obsahuje veľmi veľa funkcií teraz. Takže ako začneme od social sharing, kde je klasický, môžete zdieľať na Facebook, potom Livebox, čo je veľmi dobrý efekt, keď chcete zvýrazniť vaše video. A takisto, keď chcete mať hosting na Vimeo alebo YouTube, je integrácia. Také základné veci ako quality switching, preklenie kvality, tiež reklamy. No a ako som spomínala, samozrejme, kto si chce vyskúšať, je zdarná verzia, ktorá má týždeň.
Sure. What? Oh, it's mine. Okay. All right. So the difference between I don't think the microphone does much, so I guess I'll go with that. We are recording the. Oh, okay. There we go. Now we can hear me. So the difference between a pro plugin and a free plugin. There's advanced functionality, prompt bug fixes, hopefully, not all the time, of course, proper documentation, and support. And a lot of people probably think it's advanced functionality is the main part of a pro plugin. I actually would disagree. I would say most of all, a pro plugin is support. Support is what brings customers in and keeps them coming back. We have a public support forum, so people actually look at our forum. And when they see how actively we support other people and how happy the clients are, they actually buy our plugin a lot of the time. They buy it. There's a lot of video players out there, but the difference is we have visible and active support. So I think it's I think support is actually a huge selling point of the pro plugin. So anybody here who's thinking of putting out a pro plugin, you should really, I think, plan to have a visible support, and you should plan to spend a lot of time in support. Okay, so Here's a few examples. Martin, you saved my product launch, how can I thank you now? That was actually a fake one that I wrote before I went and got the real ones, but the real ones come right after. Martin's actually here with us today, so, but we did, I only can't remember who said it. I mean, there's 3 or 4 people who actually did say that. So we have Robert Pike from Erotic Tales. Okay, so I've never been as pleased with any plugin as I have with Foliovison. We gave him a lot of support, so that's why he's so happy. Talaluan, thank you for your great support. I was a JW Player Enterprise customer and left them because I was not satisfied with their technical support. Thank you for your patience and prompt support and great support for even the free version. Which is actually, we're going to get to it, but you have to provide within boundaries first-class support for the free version as well if you want to sell your plugin. And here's Amira Amin. Thanks a lot, Lucia, for your complete answer. Epic Player is the most perfect player in the world. Well, thank you, Amira. That's really very kind of you. You might be exaggerating, but only a tiny little bit. Okay, so how do you go from, because before we only had free plugins, and to be honest, I mean, we sometimes fix things, but we have 13 of them, and we have other things to do, and we always have a lot of client work. And so, you know, we fixed it when we felt like it. So, and how do you go from that to pro support? And we will, and without collapsing or going bankrupt, because actually if you do support wrong, it can destroy your company. Launching a pro plugin could actually mean you have no time for client work, very little revenue, and you don't sleep at night, and you commit suicide within months if you do it wrong. So we're going to talk about how to do it so that you can actually make some money at it and make your clients really happy. Okay, so support 101. I think the most important thing with support, because I'm often a customer, we have about 25 services we use at Foliovison, not even talking about the software we buy, like individual plugins or applications. And I know when I'm a customer, what I care about is I have the feeling I'm talking with a real person. As soon as somebody starts to cut and paste and doesn't seem to read my answers or read my questions, I get very upset. So when we started setting up support for Foliovison, and we did this even with our customer, like our clients. Well, clients are, say, the people that are doing full web development with us, and customers are the people who buy our software. So there's this client-customer distinction. Even with our clients we were doing this, but we brought it over to our support for just paying customers for just buying a $75 plugin from us, which is, we try to have personality. Martin, for example, he's extremely nice and extremely patient when he does support. I am a little faster and I give you a little bit more information and I have a bit more of an edge to me, but and Lucia is also does more nice and patient, and she gives you more basic information than Martin will. Martin doesn't like the basic questions actually, but each of us has this slight. We're all nice, but we each have a slightly different style. So we sound like real people. We don't all try to sound the same even. There isn't a single style manual at Foliovison that says every support question has to be answered just like this. We have some general guidelines. We always try to say hi, for example, and use the person's name. We don't just write back. But no automated response, always very personal. Okay, so that's underlying whatever format you do it in. You should keep it simple. You have to remember that not all your users are going to have the technical programming skills you have. That's why it's good to have a support team, because Martin, for example, expects people to have a certain level of knowledge. Even I expect people to have a certain level of knowledge. We brought Lucia in from outside who has less knowledge about WordPress and less knowledge about web development than either Martin or I. I've been doing it for 15 years, Martin's been doing it for 7 or 8. Lucia hasn't been doing web development, so she actually understands the clients better. And that's good, because you really have to make it depends on your audience for your plugin, but if you have a plugin with a wide audience, you have to make it accessible to everybody, because everybody will buy your plugin and everybody will expect it to work. So, be very, your public-facing documentation is very important, and the ways to contact the support team are very important. I'm going to talk about that in more detail. Okay, another golden rule is turnaround time. Any response today is better than a complete response tomorrow. This was a bit of a problem when Lucia joined the team. She's a scientist. She doesn't want to give a wrong answer. She wants to give a complete answer. She was working in the University of Vienna before, and they could disappear for 3 weeks. As long as they came back with the right answer, it was okay. In Pro Plugin support, that's not okay. You want to answer the people, ideally within about 20 minutes, certainly in the worst case the same day. You're really looking at turnaround time from 10 minutes to 2 hours for the highest satisfaction rates. And when you're doing it, never forget that when your client's website's not working, put yourself in the client's shoes. It's the most important issue to them right then in their lives. So you really have to keep that perspective in mind and address people with the respect that you're dealing with what may be the most important issue they have that day. Okay, so all this sounds like a lot of work. How, when you sell a $75 plugin, can you make money when people have all of these support questions and all of these problems? Well, part of it is doing the really complete documentation so they can help themselves. But the next thing is you can actually turn your support into a money-making venture. So our boundaries for support are you have to do the work yourself. You can ask us any question, we'll answer it, we'll link to our documentation, we'll give you additional answers. If you expect us to log into your website and start changing things for you, if we have to take your login, we expect you to pay for a pro support incident. We make it very easy to order one. It's one click from the back end of the plugin, or it's one click from the support forums. You can just order your pro support incident. Usually, you have to tell people in support, I'm sorry, here's your answer. If you want us to do it for you, this is actually what we say. It's not on the slide. Here's your answer. This is how you do it. We see you're having issues. If you would like us to do it for you, please order a pro support incident. And you know what? After we refined the language a little bit, we've got it up to more than half the people just order the support incident. Because they're busy people, they have websites. If they're buying pro plugins, they're probably making money on their website. They care about their website. And they actually just want their problem solved. And if you can make it quick and easy, they're happy to give you the money. And they will say, the first slide we showed you, and they will say thank you afterwards. So be very, very careful with your boundaries on pro support, because you will be lowering customer satisfaction because you won't be able to provide that service to all people all the time unless you're taking money for it. And so you're losing money and you're lowering customer satisfaction if you do not offer additional paid support. This, by the way, is a point that not everybody agrees with. Some companies say, we don't do any development work for our clients, we don't log into any websites. If they need that, they can't have it, and they have to go somewhere else. I disagree with that, but there is an alternative view. I just thought I would mention it. Okay, so how do you do all this? This is necessary infrastructure. It's kind of long. I'll try and go through it fairly quickly. Okay, the WordPress forum, they have support on it. How many people have been on the WordPress plugins forum with the support there or used it? Okay, so more than half the people actually know how that works. People will just show up there and start saying, this plugin sucks, it doesn't work, if I don't get support right now, I'm going to rate it 1 in the WordPress plugin database, and I'm going to curse the people who wrote it. It's really a horrible thing because people have... There are nicer situations, but generally, you know, you just get sucker punched. You're just sitting at the bar and somebody comes behind you and smashes a beer bottle on your head. So what we do is we move the people from the WordPress forum into our own forum. We have a standard answer, which is we give you about half the answer in the WordPress forum, and we say, if you want more details, come to our own support forum, and we'll help you. Because we know if we get them into our own support forum, we can ask more penetrating questions. We're not, if it turns into, because often what happens with support is it turns into a bit of a shouting match at the first, because the guy's really unhappy, and then you actually solve, like the first ticket I showed you, you solve this problem and he's very happy at the end. But you really don't want everybody in the WordPress forum to be watching that process take place. So you really want to get them into your own forum. And actually Martin's program something very clever in our forum, which is when people submit a ticket, it's not immediately published, but we can answer it. So we can go back and forth and then publish the ticket for the whole world to see when it's actually in condition for the world to see. So that avoids a lot of negative stuff around the forum, because a lot of people actually close their forums and only do email support because they don't like to see the negative stuff in their own forum. If you run your forum right, you can actually show the positive stuff, and don't get me wrong, we don't hide everything. You know, we don't only show the positive stuff, but we try to show the difficult tickets after they're resolved and not in the process. Okay, so email. I think email is one of the key differences if you're a pro customer with us or a free customer. A free user only has rights posting the forum. I have a standard reply to people who send us contact form things. I say post in the forum if you want free support, buy the product if you want to send us an email. A lot of people actually buy the product just so they can send us an email. So there's a nice little sales trick. But in the email, it should be totally personal. No Zendesk with like a ticket number hiding around somewhere. No system where you actually have to log in to see the ticket. None of that. It's got to be totally transparent for the customer, like email. There's a few products that do that. There's only a few. Zendesk actually doesn't do it. Freshdesk, which we use now, does it. We also use Teamwork. It used to be Teamwork PM. Teamwork for our project management. They've just come up with Teamwork Desk, which integrates a help desk into project management. We're going to be moving there. The specific software is not that important. The important thing is it looks like email to the customer. Lucia will talk you through a specific example of how the software works, actually. Okay, you got to have a contact. You already have this, all of you, on your websites. You have to have a contact form because, believe it or not, even though they have emails from you telling you that the email support address is support, even though they want to send you an email, they can't remember their own name, and they come to your contact form. Even people who watch your product and had 3 support requests resolved, they come to your contact form and dump something new on you. And so then you have to have an easy way to check license status, because if that posting in the contact form is from a pro customer, you don't want to send them back, I'm sorry, you have to buy the product to get email support. So you actually have to check those incoming contact form requests, check them against the domain, check them against the email, and then if it's a pro support question, you actually move it into the software for them. And then the final necessary infrastructure is the renewable support licenses. Don't sell one-time licenses. Never, ever. If anybody's got a product out there or thinking about selling a product, make sure that you have a yearly or at least a biannual license renewal fee, because over time people will need more support, and if you are not getting repeat license, and you shouldn't charge as much as for a new license, but if you're not getting these renewals, your product will in the long run be unsustainable. So that's a necessary infrastructure. I'd like to stop and ask questions, but I guess we'll do it at the end. Okay, so we'll go through the refund policy in a minute. Maybe I should actually, while we're talking about infrastructure, I'm going to switch over to the slide with, are you ready for that? Okay. So we'll actually show you in more depth how that, actually that's wrong. Program, here we go. Okay, so Lucia will now talk you through the details of a support ticket. This is Russia's. Go ahead, Lucia.
Takže ako to funguje vo Freshdesku, jednoducho dostaneme nový tiket, ktorý sa zjaví, nový samozrejme je tu popísaný. Väčšinou popíšu, čo sa deje, že aký má problém. Ideálne, keď ešte pripoja k tomu nejaký link, kde je ten problém, to už sme veľmi šťastní, alebo ešte mi popíšu, že aký operačný systém, to už je úplne dokonalý. Takže dostaneme takýto s adresou popísaný prvý problém. Teraz.
Okay, you see it's assigned to Lucia here.
Ako najprv je to unassigned, až potom neskôr. Takže prvý na ten ticket odpovedal Alec, Alec bol prvý pri počítači, čiže sa hneď odpovedal, že áno, dostali sme, máte nejaký problém, dobre. Nevieme ho hneď vyriešiť, lebo chýbali nejaké informácie, takže hneď zahrnul priamo v tej odpovedi, že Lucia sa vám ozve s ďalšími informáciami a keď nebudeme vedieť, tak Martin je znovu v práci v pondelok. Dobre, teraz som ja, tu to nevidíte, čiže ja som hneď na to odpovedala priamo zase zákazníkovi, že potrebujeme viac informácií, teda lebo som si preštudovala ten ticket, nemali sme informáciu, teda kde je konkrétne tá chyba, neposlal nám žiadny URL. Takže som odpísal, dostali sme, otestovala som jeho problém, keďže som to nevedala vyriešiť všetko sama, lebo tam bol nejaký feedback, tak som mu napísala, že...
This is a private note here, the next one. Hi, Mark.
Tak som mu odpovedala, že jeho problém teda otestujem. Hneď na to som napísala, vidíte si, zámkom je privátnu správu Martinovi, aby sa na to pozrel, vysvetlila som mu, čo ide. Ale nakoniec Martin sa na to pozrel a odpísal nakoniec to riešenie zákazníkovi. A potom nás informoval, o čo išlo. Čiže takto nejak funguje. Môžete mať všetko, máte prehľadne v jednej takéto konverzácii, môžete medzi sebou komunikovať. To je len jeden z príkladov softvéru, ako to my robíme napríklad, ale vidíte, priamo komunikujeme medzi zákazníkom a medzi nami.
Okay, back to play. All right, refund policy. I'm going to go through this section fairly quickly so that we have time for questions. The basics are you have to have a guarantee, and it's good to have a guarantee. You should have some rules, and they should be publicly visible to avoid conflict later. For example, if anybody submits a refund claim to PayPal without contacting us first, they lose the right to a refund. And it's written in black and white, and so whenever PayPal has the people who bought it and just want a refund for no good reason, without even talking to us, we just send that to PayPal, and PayPal denies their refund request. And there are different views on that. Some people say give everybody a refund. I have a different view, and I'll tell you why in a second. Another thing to save refunds is have a free version, because you can tell people, try the product first. If you like the free version, then upgrade to the pro version. Problem is, the whole process of buying, selling, refunding, you don't want to be doing a lot of empty cycles. Okay, there are times that you really do want to give a refund. If there's a bug in your product that you can't fix now, of course you give a refund. The product doesn't work for your customer and his website, despite all the standards in place, of course you give the refund, right? If you can't make it work, we send them the refund right away. It doesn't happen too often, but it does. Okay, no refunds. Customers using broken theme or code that is not within WordPress standards won't clean it up. Problem is actually, if we knew that ahead of time, I would actually give them the refund. But the problem is we've already done a lot of support already to tell them what's wrong with their website, how to fix it, and they won't clean it up. And we've actually invested a fair amount of time. So it's actually the time giving them the support and telling them what's wrong with their website that I regret. So we usually don't give a refund then. The reason that I don't like to give refunds to the people who just buy and then refund after getting their license code is he's going to send his friends back. I know these people, they hang out on little forums and they say, oh yeah, you can get a free license for this, and blanket refunds. Okay, how to avoid refunds. Offer good documentation. Believe it or not, most people actually prefer self-service. Your documentation will work for you 24/7. As we improve our documentation, the silly support requests go way down. Okay, so the fast response helps. Okay, this is something we do, and we have to do better, is that when people buy the plugin, they get the first email that tells them where to get it, where the documentation is, and basically how to use it. And then, a little bit later, they get an email that tells them all the features that are in the free version, all the features that are in the pro version, the features we have planned, asks them for suggestions, and basically it's a sales letter that sells them again the same product they just bought. Because they might have forgotten why they bought it. They might have forgotten why they want to own it. But when they get that, and it's usually, I usually add a little personal touch to it. Right now it's not totally automated. But when they get that, they feel welcomed and that you care and that they really bought a quality product. So you can automate these emails that people get after the sale, and the more of this you do, the better. We're going to be doing some more work on that ourselves. And then another way to avoid refunds is make sure that the whole thing works. You know, download, installation, setup, test your system as a customer. We make changes to our system, sometimes it breaks. And we're very fortunate when the customers tell us, but as little as possible. Make sure your system's working. Okay, extra tricks. Built-in support. I guess you were going to quickly tell us about this.
Okay, ako môžete tiež vylepšiť váš software, my máme napríklad jeden trik, ako zvládnuť jednoduchšie podporu nášho pluginu. Je vybudovaný videočeker, ktorý si chce zabrať vybudovať pár hodín, ale na druhej strane zase nám ušetrí stovky hodín, ktoré by sme potrebovali kontaktovať. Čiže ako to funguje? Je na to samozrejme rozhraní si ho zákazník môže spustiť, alebo my sa ho spýtame, aby spustil a on nám môže poslať jednoducho takýto report, ktorý my dostaneme. A už keď vieme o akú presne analýza videa, aké video sa jedná, aký link, čo je to za forma, encoding, čiže ako je vlastne...
So Martin doesn't have to spend 20 minutes trying to get that information out of the customer. We get that all the information he needs right out of the bag. And we can actually see if there's a consistent problem across all of these. We don't actually work with these. Lucia and I, they go straight to the programmer, but it lets him monitor his own work.
A ešte, čo je na ňom veľmi dobré, sám dáva pripomienky už momentálne, že napríklad je video, máme video a na tom videu priamo ukáže, že video nie je OK. Zákazník si to rozklikne a hneď má nápovedu. Vaše video je napríklad, máte príliš vysokú bitrate, alebo proste formát nie je vhodný. Čiže zákazník už vie, čo je zle a môže to sám vyriešiť.
And no other video player on the market has this feature. This is a unique feature for FB Player, and actually we should sell this feature harder. Okay. Okay, so that's more about the video checker. We're going to accelerate this presentation. We're almost at the end, but we want time for questions. Another example of a built-in support ticket tool would be a configuration wizard. A plugin that I hate because it doesn't work half the time, and it's too complicated, but they did a good job with their configuration wizard, is W3 Total Cache, if anybody's used it. It takes you through the whole process when you set up the plugin, and that's a really great thing to do. Maybe we will add a configuration wizard at some point. It depends on the software you're selling. For us, a video checker is really important. For somebody else, it might be a configuration wizard. Boundaries, free support. Okay, a free plugin has to have good support. We've covered that. Okay, so free is in the forums. Paid is the email or hands-on private support. And then there's a third category, which is advanced custom services. Installation, integrations, membership sites. We actually offer all of that at different price levels. Initially, we just had a single pro support incident, but some of the stuff like setting up Amazon CloudFront, secure video hosting, it actually takes more time and causes more trouble than the $70. So we've actually moved that up to $120, I think. So, and then we actually have other things like membership sites, and we also offer some custom development around video. And we actually are taking in a fair amount of money on this side. Probably, sometimes, it feels like almost as much as just straight sales.
A ja len čo môžeme pre nich urobiť, ale vidia tú možnosť a sú ešte rádi, že môžu si to objednať. Taký servis existuje.
Okay, so with pro support, there's still some boundaries because if somebody pays you $70, you cannot bill them $1,000 with custom website development. So you deflect and escalate. So you say, okay, well I fixed this, but if you need something more, it costs this. Always do a little bit more than what they paid for, but if it's something much more, then you ask them for much more money. And this happens all the time. Generally, I do this because it's quite subtle, but you really have to be ready for it. And then if there's actually somebody who is screaming, I paid you $70 and I expect you to come and build me Netflix, refund and ban. Just forget about them. They're just not worth it. And there will be those customers. We've only had 2 or 3, but just be ready for them. Okay, pro support for neophytes. Normally, Lutzko would talk about this in depth, but we've run out of time. So there are people who just don't have technical skills, so you have to offer them extra pro support and training, and move the client to an easier solution which he or she can manage. The first ticket that I showed you where the guy, I'm really disappointed in you, I've paid you and paid you, you've done nothing for me. In the end, we actually moved him to the Vimeo version, and after he was trying to do the Amazon custom secure hosting, and actually it really works for him, and he's really happy now because we moved him from something that he couldn't manage, because he has to encode, he has to upload, he has to put secure keys in, to something that he can just use to handle his breakup program. He's selling a breakup program of how to get your girlfriend back if she leaves you. It's actually kind of fun doing support because you see all these kind of cute, interesting businesses. Okay, we've already covered all this. No. Okay, you got to have a page where you're actually selling those extra services because people want to read it. When you're, this one's $70, this is $120, this is $1,000, and this is $8,000. They want to actually see that in writing rather than sending it to them in email. So put up a price list for the extra services. Okay, so this is the basic thing. Incoming requests, I can handle it, Lucia can handle it, Mark can handle it, if we're both away. If you need a senior programmer, you bring him in, never send a wrong answer. It destroys your credibility. Okay, all of this stuff that you answer, make sure you put it back into your documentation so it improves your product in the future. We've covered that. We've covered that. Okay, documentation is never finished. So keep improving your documentation. Every day is documentation day. Your documentation is not done. Good documentation sells your product, makes your life easier, it works 24/7. We have to do more of that. Lucia just had a baby 2 weeks ago, so we're a bit behind on keeping our documentation up. But we're gonna catch up on that now. It's really important. Okay, covered that. Okay, last words. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. When I'm doing support, I always think, what would I want if I was the customer? And final thing, if anybody has an idea for a pro plugin, it's a great thing to do to get something good and original out on the market. So I hope this presentation has helped you prepare for that moment when you launch your own plugin. We're done.
I ask about automatically updates. If it's going through administration and you can upload, download from your server, or it's automatic process.
Which updates? Plugin?
Plugin. You get a new version, so you update it like in one click, or you need to download and install it by yourself.
Okay, that's actually a good question and has a good answer. What we've done is, as I said, we have the free plugin. We don't put all the code in the free plugin because then people could just remove the licensing code and have all of our code, which we don't want. So you actually, when you buy it, you get an additional plugin pack. So you keep the free plugin installed, and then you add the pro plugin pack. The free plugin is updated from the WordPress servers, and the pro plugin is actually updated from our own servers. And if somebody refunds or eventually if they don't renew their license or whatever, they won't get any further updates.
Čiže update je jednoduché, ako WordPress priamo platí nás bude jedným klikom update, keď je available, alebo prípadne, keď sa zalogujú na naše konto, tak tam si môžu stiahnuť.
But they don't actually have to do that. They can.
Yeah.
Our plugin, we actually have. Okay, this is a tip for everybody who's going to do it. I would recommend that you build your own WordPress plugin repository that can update plugins and that you can control over. So if you're going the pro route, build your own repository. But that's a subject for a different presentation, which Mark will do next year.
Thank you. More questions?
Come on. Surely somebody has some hard questions. I know Martin probably has a few, but Martin.
I was actually wondering about your 20-minute response time. How can you manage to do this and do any other work during the day?
Well, usually it's usually there's either Lutsko or I online. And this is a bit of a problem because I am trying to do focus time of 4 or 5 hours of doing nothing else, and Martin is actually working on that too. But he does he has some VIP clients as well that he takes care of, and he's supposed to program for 5 or 6 hours. But Martin has this ADD thing or whatever it is. He actually he can concentrate, but he actually concentrates better if there's small annoying things going on. I'm not like that. So he actually picks things up even when he shouldn't be. And Lucia, she has that female quality of multitasking, which I don't have. So she can actually answer some support questions. Even I've seen her do it even while she's cooking dinner or something like that. So it's not easy, but usually there's somebody on. But we do occasionally drop the ball. There have been occasions, especially on a long weekend or something, where something doesn't get picked up for 7 or 8 hours. So, but succeeding most of the time is much better than saying, oh, I failed once, so I can fail all the time. It's like a diet, right? Like if you're on a diet, just because you ate a piece of cheesecake now, there's no reason to eat cheesecake all day tomorrow, right?
Do you sell multi-licenses or do you allow customization of your product?
Okay, there's 2 questions there, so can you make it more specific? You can do it in Slovak if you want.
Či umožňujete úpravu produktu, teda zo strany klienta, že si môže ten produkt upraviť podľa vlastných potrieb, prípadne či predávate multilicencie toho produktu.
Multilicencie máme a to upraviť produkt, áno, oni majú dostup do kód a keď oni veľa budú zmeniť, potom už my nemôžu podporiť. Obyčajne my urobím tie zmeny. No, for example, the custom CSS they can change. They can add extra JavaScript. Martin even coaches them on where to add that extra JavaScript, coaches them on where to add the custom CSS. We get a lot of those questions, we do support them. But we actually had some woman who wanted us to rebuild the plugin in a certain way for her site that she wouldn't fix to work with our fundamental plugin logic, and I just said, you know what? You want to program your own plugin, go ahead. Mark was disappointed. He wanted to for the client, but I didn't actually want to destroy the integrity of our plugin for one client. So every case is a little bit individual, but I would discourage people from actually changing the core of your plugin. But I would give them hooks where they can add the extra functionality that they want, which is what we've done.
Super, v tom prípade ďakujeme vám pekne.